Welcome to a new video, and today we are approaching one of the four pillars of Lord's Society. In this case, is the first one, which is body or the physique, and I'm gonna go through all the hacks and tips that work excellent for me in order to go from this picture you see here, where I was 85 kilos and quite soft. And you could say that all over my 30s, that was basically my physique. It didn't change much. Okay, maybe a little bit up and down. It wasn't terrible, but I wasn't proud of it. I wasn't feeling like I had a nice physique where I feel more confident, right? And what I want to do with this video is actually expose the importance of taking care of your body, not only from the perspective of the um, how it looks, which could also help to build confidence, but mostly because when you want to build things along your life, health is the number one priority. And that's why this is actually one of the main pillars on Lord Society, and it's actually the first one. Before I proceed, sorry, before I proceed into this, I'm gonna show you something because many times, I'm gonna do some unboxing here. Many times people kind of question things, right? This is my certificate on advanced nutrition, or you could say sports nutrition. This is my number of nutrition specialist. You could see is my name, Salvador Chanza, and this is by the IFBB Federation, International Fitness and Bodybuilding Federation. So when this, I actually took this certificate after getting, you could say, in better shape, but I also did it because I wanted to have a better understanding of how to feed my body with the right nutrients. I can tell you after taking this, that it was several months, I think it was around 6 months. Nutrition is not rocket science, okay? Anybody knows exactly how to do things properly, but not everybody is willing to take those steps and do the effort on feeding themselves correctly, okay? So in my past, as I said, on my 30s, I went from this physique to this other one. So I went from 85 kilos to 72 kilos. And to do so, you only need to focus on a couple of things. Those things is the first ones I wrote here on this whiteboard. Number one, avoid processed foods. Okay, try to focus on whole foods, whole ingredients is the best, and you don't need to go into crazy cooking styles or sauces or stuff like that. Basic is usually best, and try to eat on a basis, I would say, 60% carbs, 25% protein, and 15% fats. With this structure, when it comes to your eating habits, you are quite good. This is basically standard, but you can get very far in results if you follow that. Okay. The second thing you can do, or that I did and it worked great, was not to register to the gym. Most people, when they want to change their physique, they just start training and lifting weights and so on. And even though, yes, it can happen to help a bit on, you could say, a bit of body composition and toning also the muscles, and especially some of the areas which could look softer. But you do not need to start with that, because when you have a high percentage of body fat, around 20%, 25, depending on each individual, but I was in that picture around 20% body fat. So starting to work out strength training doesn't help much until you cut down and you are below 15% body fat. Okay. So the first thing I did, least cardio. What is least cardio? So least stands for low intensity steady state. That means walking. You don't need to do intervals, you don't need to do peaks. You basically need to sustain a speed of 5 kilometers an hour, depending on how tall you are. I would say for a standard individual, which is around 170, 180, 4.5 is okay. If you are taller than 180, maybe you go to 5 kilometers an hour, okay? And you walk steady. That's why steady state for minimum 30 minutes. Advisable or recommended to go to 60 minutes if you want to burn even more calories, okay? Just by doing so, you're gonna get amazing results. If you can do cardio every day, it will even help you much faster, okay? So it all depends about how quickly you want to achieve those results. That being said, if you want to get technical, and that's not needed, but if you want to get technical, it helps a lot to know your BMR. So what's the BMR? It's the basal metabolic rate. This is what's gonna help you to understand how many calories your body needs to maintain the regular activity without doing physical activity. So basically for the normal functions of your body, I would say. You need to a certain amount of calories for the respiratory system, for basically the blood pumping, the cardiorespiratory, obviously, and all the nervous system, everything, all the functions of your body that happen every single day, you would need a minimum amount of calories. This is not so difficult. There are many websites where you can say calculate BMR, and it's very simple to do it. You will get that calculation, and then according to the activity you do every single day, if you do maybe training 3 times a day, or if you do it every day, you will get a coefficient, and then you have to multiply. Then you know how many calories you might need according to your physical activity. Okay. Once you know that, if you want to lose, in this case, fat, which is the plan, is the ideal would be to be below 500 calories below your recommended calories, which is the TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. Okay, we don't need to get very technical on those terms. Just make it easy. You don't need to actually obsess, but it kind of helps to know what's your minimum calorie intake that you need to do. And then if you do some activities, you put on top of that. And if you know already that you need to be in calorie deficit, I am, for instance, in calorie surplus actually right now. So I know according to my activity, I need around 3,000 calories a day. I'm eating 3,500 calories per day on average. Okay. So let's say that right now, knowing that I need 3,000 calories to maintain my activity, if I wanted to lose weight, I would be on 2,500. So that's a deficit. Since I want to gain weight, I'm on surplus. So 3,500. That's basically it. Another thing that helps is to track your calories. There are plenty of apps for that. I've been using MyFitnessPal. You don't have to pay for that. I think it's free. But of course, if you want to get a bit more data and so on, then it's a subscription base. However, just to get you could use the free version, and just to get an estimate of how many calories you are intaking out of your meals. Right now, I don't do any calorie track. because I know pretty much by looking of the portion how many calories I'm actually intaking out of my meals. But if you want to have an estimate, it's good to do calorie tracking, and actually it will help you to get a bit more into that process. At the beginning it might be a bit stressful to go through this, but once you have done it several times and then you simplify your meals, or basically the ingredients that you are using, is actually quite easy to go through. So, and it will help you a lot in order to have a proper perspective about what you're eating, and you are much more aware of every single food that you are taking into your body. So it helps a lot to have an estimation. You don't need to go crazy, okay? It's just to have an estimation. But then, as long as you put your cardio, you're gonna see how your fat is gonna decrease in basically several months, or let's say 3-4 months. With that being said, um, the most important thing I feel when it comes to the body is what I said from the beginning, is to keep control on your body. You're gonna get much more self-confidence. You're gonna get a better posture when you stand. You're gonna also feel better yourself in terms of energy levels. You're gonna have more vitality, and, and the most important thing is that you're gonna prioritize your health over any other thing. And this is another, from my perspective, when I started to do this, believe it or not, it's crazy how it has a huge impact in your nervous system. By saying that, what I mean is that the same way that when you do, let's say, bad habits, you go to more, you want to pile more bad habits, the same applies when you do good things, okay? What I mean with this is that most of you have noticed that when you maybe, I don't know, snack, sometimes you snack maybe salty stuff, then you want to drink a beer also, right? From the beer, sometimes then it's like, okay, then you go to a bit heavier things or more fatty things, and then it's a glass of something heavier, no, or stronger, wine, or I don't know, whatever it is. Many of us, me included, when you party and so on, and you go for long drinks, and maybe you want to have a smoke also, and from there you go to another thing, and that's how it happens, because your nervous system is more vulnerable. The same applies on the opposite. When you start to clean your metabolism and you start to eat better foods, you are not going to have cravings. Suddenly, cravings are going to disappear. You're going to have much more control over your health and your body. And if you start to combine a good nutrition with training, you will see like your body suddenly doesn't want any of the bad stuff, because your frequency is higher. You are vibrating in a higher frequency, and that's actually a fact. So you just have to test it, check it yourself, and you will see how amazed you are. For me, it's been more than I would say 2 years that I haven't drink alcohol. I actually had 2 glasses, and it was more for a social kind of thing, to not be a bit out of the picture. And then I realized why I'm doing this. So right now I would say it's more than a year I haven't drink just a single drop of alcohol. And previous to that, I was more like, okay, I can have a glass, just to not be off the situation. But right now, I don't care. I just feel much better. The clarity you get also out of doing these things, and the creativity, and absolutely the levels of vitality and energy, is like, for me, is not worth to destroy all of this just to have a glass of something, okay? So, but yeah, don't believe what I said. Basically, just test it yourself and see if you get any results. If so, ask me on the comments below whatever you want to know regarding nutrition or how to go through a process of fat loss in an easy way without getting mad in terms of bad humor and so on. And put it into practice and document it yourself, and you will see how amazed you are just to check the pictures from the day that you started till after 30 days, till after 60 days, and so on and so forth. So this is it. This is everything that helped me. You don't need much. Just avoid processed foods and do least cardio. These two things, you have enough to start in order to get back control over your physique. Once you have dropped the fat, then you can focus on strength training in order to build muscle mass if you are interested, if you are really willing on doing so, because not everybody likes that, and that's completely fair. So you just have to focus on what you feel more comfortable with, okay? So this is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I really appreciate your time for watching. And as I said, if you have any wonders or questions regarding nutrition, feel free to ask on the comments below. Next video, we're gonna talk about mindset. So I'll see you in the next video.